there's a lot of people, 50, I feel like he don't have to say nothing, but 50's crazy. He's been like this his whole life. When he's on the block, oh shit, 50's coming.
Don't trust nobody. In Hollywood specifically, when you get there, a lot of people don't know how to say no. That's the difference between New York City and California.
What if Jim Jones wasn't being warned by 50 Cent? What if he was preparing the most significant hip-hop expose in a long time? After 50 dropped and then swiftly erased a message that drove the entire industry into a state of conjecture. It is the question that has been reverberating across society. Some of you better chill before I remind the city what really happened, the message said. No tags or hashtags, simply a threat with accuracy. Fans were able to identify the target within minutes. It happened immediately after Jim made disparaging remarks in an interview, saying, "Many of these guys are being tough for the cameras. We are aware of who's actually outdoors." To insiders, that one line was a direct strike at 50, a man whose reputation for sincerity is nearly branded. To others, it might have been a casual conversation. Although we have previously seen 50 react to disrespect, this time it felt planned, even surgical. It was too well timed to be a coincidence. A few days prior, he and Cameron performed side by side on the stage at LIIV nightclub in Miami as the audience shouted and cameras flashed. There was no nostalgia in the reunion. It was a calculated move. Cameron and Jim have a history of disagreements, tension that dates back almost 20 years. Fans witnessed more than just a show when 50 and Cam appeared side by side. They observed a coalition emerging. It was more than just a show. It was a side declaration.
Damn, I gotta find another mobile. You know what I mean? And then slowly but surely, I got out of that phase of just trying to chase ball and make music that I could continue to make money. You know what I mean? And I do believe a hit to come, and a few hits have came since.
Chase Baller. The subsequent post was comparable to a chess game's second move. The phrasing of the title, "Remember the City Hit Hard," suggested something particular with historical roots. According to those close to both sides, 50 decided to seize the opportunity to publicly draw boundaries after learning of Jim's most recent comments. The mystery was only made more intense by the fact that he removed it hours later. Deletion rarely translates into remorse in the 50s playbook. It indicates that the following action has already started. This moment and the history that made it possible are inextricably linked. There is more to Goonit and Dipset's conflict than just an old rap grudge. There is a never-ending territorial power conflict. Both teams contributed to defining New York's sound from separate blocks back in the early 2000s. Harlem versus Queens, swagger versus business. The egos never diminished, even as the hits did. The relationship between Cameron and Jim Jones was never simple. Jim attempted to grow the empire that Cam had founded. Beneath the surface, however, was a struggle for dominance that outlasted their most successful records.
Anything that he's done in the game, I can't, you heard? And that's not it, but as a competitive man, that's all I'm doing is popping my shit. And this is what hip-hop is about, but for the most part, I got no problem with Nas, shouts to Nas, shouts to all the guys.
Cam acknowledged on his own Rock Solid podcast earlier this year that the disagreements have gone well beyond the 7 years that we spent together as a group. He pointed out Jim's frequent insults, 17 years of frenemy-style tunes and subliminals. He had obviously moved on, but Jim was unable to let go. The past was history to Cam. It remained an open wound for Jim. That's why 50's connection with Cam was so purposeful. It wasn't sentimentality for a former hit song. Leverage was used. Standing close to Cam allowed 50 to capitalize on a resentment that was already brewing. Industry insiders are certain that one interview statement was not the reason for 50's warning. It has to do with control. He changed the story by getting back together with Cam in front of thousands of people and saying it immediately. Jim wasn't simply another slick-talking rapper all of a sudden. He was the individual being forced to leave two empires. He assisted in building one and is unable to challenge the other. Furthermore, it appears that this was not an outburst because 50 waited until the Miami cameras were rolling before making his move. It was a procedure.
He don't got a green piece of paper. He don't got none of them kind of songs that make cry. A couple of them, but not 20 of them.
That's a venue with 100
catalog.
That's a venue with 100
You
niggas.
better check my jacket. You better check my jacket. You better check my jacket.
Jim has previously been under pressure, but never to this extent. Following the 2021 battle between the Dipset and the Lox, his reputation suffered greatly. Fans began to doubt Dipset's legacy as Jadakiss transformed the concert into a poetic demolition that evening. Viewers recognized the truth, despite Jim's later attempts to paint it as all fun. The LOX arrived ready. Dipset arrived clumsily. Jim has been in recuperation mode ever since, focusing more on fashion and interviews than on #1 hits. Reviews haven't been positive. His recent work has been criticized as contrived, claiming that rehearsed confidence and glossy production have taken the place of the genuine Harlem grittiness that originally characterized him. 50's post struck the deepest chord there. It capitalized on Jim's authenticity, which is what he has been attempting to safeguard. Remind the city, 50 says, and he's not referring to old rat beefs. He is discussing what people remember and the unwritten past that continues to influence people's perceptions of New York. Just the idea that 50 might reveal something Jim wants to be buried has followers analyzing every aspect. Is it related to business, street alliances, or inside Dipset loyalty breaks? Although no one is certain, the worry is genuine because 50 doesn't bluff. Evidence is typically waiting in the vault when he speaks. It's important to remember that the 50s always follow a logical approach in confrontations. He always has a plan before acting. The tone of the caption, the timing with Cam, and the silence following the deletion. Every component seems to be set up to elicit a response without actually causing one. According to people close to G-Unit, 50's remark wasn't meant as payback. It served as an introduction. He is reportedly working on a more ambitious project, perhaps a documentary-style exposé connected to his growing media endeavors. Because of this, some analysts believe that this warning might be more than just a personal one. It might be a forerunner to a public reckoning that combines revelation and amusement, the way 50 enjoys combining spectacle with business.
Who wants you up here, man, on the no funny shit couch?
You better check my jacket, man.
Oh, man.
Jim's position continues to appear weaker in the interim. Weeks before all of this, he had attempted to regain control of his career after years of criticism by rekindling small conflicts with other New York musicians, including subtly disparaging Styles P and Jadakiss. But every action backfired. He was dismissively dismissed by Styles P, who stated, "Jim and I don't do the same thing. I work as a barman." The message quickly gained traction, portraying Jim as an artist seeking approval rather than admiration. His words now always elicit skepticism in return. The timing of everything overlaps, which is remarkable. Jim's interviews, Cam's inability to make sense of 50's stage presence, and the public quiet that ensued after the warning. It seems like a chain reaction that 50 may have planned out from the beginning. The aesthetics are important as well. On a Miami stage, 50 and Cam trade verses, but Jim is not included. It is the pinnacle of symbolism. The city that celebrated Dipset is now witnessing the isolation of its former general. Additionally, there has been discussion of 50 exploiting Cam's long-standing animosity as tactical fodder. Now that they have a rival in common, their togetherness lends them both new significance. Some claim that Cam views this as poetic justice behind the scenes, a means of eventually outwitting Jim without ever having to make a move. At 50, he has the opportunity to remind the public that he is still in control and can control headlines with just one caption.
In the same league. Me and Jim don't do the same things.
Yeah, y'all don't.
I am a bar master.
That's where it's different, though.
I am a lyrical technician. I've been on joints with some of the best MCs in the world. Big, Hove, Blackboard.
All of this puts Jim in a difficult situation where he can't simply defend himself against answering in public and runs the risk of disclosing whatever knowledge he has. If he remains silent, it will come across as fear. It's the type of trap he spent the 1950s honing. This may be the most well-planned public takedown since the 50s' protracted conflicts with other industry titans, according to even seasoned media experts. Nevertheless, the subtlety of it is what has made it so intriguing. There were no interviews or diss tracks, just a single sentence that was removed that completely changed the focus. The story has been picked up by all major media outlets, which have examined the subtext and traced historical ties between Gunnet, Dipset, and the streets that influenced them. Fans who experienced the first rivalry may notice a change this time around. The stress is greater and the stakes seem larger. because what follows could reveal more than just a rivalry if the 50s pledge to remind the city means what many believe it does. Reputations could be altered by it. Jim's camp is still silent as of right now, and 50 hasn't said anything. However, no verse can compare to the quiet. And if we know anything about Curtis Jackson from history, it's that silence is never permanent. He never issues warnings carelessly. This implies that this tale, and any reality he is clinging to, are not yet complete. 50 Cent lit a fuse instead of merely making disparaging remarks, and the explosion is still coming if history is any guide.
Be some type of misconception or what's that word when it comes to Jim Jones and what Jim Jones have done in this game. A lot of these rappers,
We made him take the darkies off.
a lot of these rappers have done a tremendous job, and I take nothing away from them, but they forget I got a hell of a catalog.
Posts are not removed by 50 Cent. He loads again. He uses every silence as a tactic. This most recent action feels like the quiet before a storm. Because of this pattern is not new to us. The aftermath of 50's pursuit of the Ja Rule put a stop to whole periods of hip-hop radio. The topic of conversation changed from friendly rivalry to business exposure when he started aiming for Diddy. Insiders claim that the current situation goes beyond simple social media drama because of this. It serves as a foundation for something much larger. 50 won't make a lyrical move next if history repeats itself. It will be a surgical procedure.
Because when you think, and if I ask anybody in the streets of New York, like, give me some adjective or definition of Jim Jones, what do you think one of the words would be?
I would hope a survivor, a visionary, a philanthropist, a person with a big heart, person that stand on 10 toes. Not perfect. He's a perfect example of what could happen for you in life if you believe in yourself.
The fact that someone is standing close to 50 this time makes it considerably riskier for Jim. His alliance with Cameron is not based on nostalgia. It's retaliation masquerading as reconciliation. Cam recently shocked the crowd by claiming that Jim assisted him in writing his early albums. That seemed to many like a subtly disparaging remark about Jim's creative legacy. Jim disputed it right away, but the harm had already been done. The seed was sown as soon as those remarks were shared. Jim would go from co-founder to background contributor if Cam's statement becomes widely accepted, which would completely reinterpret their history. And when 50 amplifies that force, it begins to appear to be a planned takedown rather than an accident. We can follow the pattern in the timing of the 1950s. Knowing full well that Cam's resentment had never subsided, he connected with Cam immediately following months of rumors regarding Dipset's internal conflict. Their chemistry on stage in Miami appeared natural, but the undertone was incredibly incisive. Cam's 1950s smile during his performance was the expression of a guy seeing the internal collapse of a rival's fortifications. It has nothing to do with music. Together, it was about the message. They are reminding the culture that the most hazardous form of alliances is those based on unresolved business.
We've been together longer than I've seen a lot of people be married. You know what I mean?
And you're not afraid of commitment.
No, obviously not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Obviously not.
Because usually that's the thing.
Obviously not. Like, I'm not even the boss in my household. I'm permitted, you heard? But
There is no more obvious difference between them and Jim from a business perspective. The 50s empire includes millions of dollars in production deals, television, and spirits. Cam has successfully transitioned into journalism and sports commentary. Jim, however, is still attempting to establish his position in the discussion. Although he doesn't have any #1 entries, his 9 Billboard 200 entries are consistent. Jim once compared himself to Nas, who has 6 chart-topping songs and 27 entries. The story is told by those figures alone. The difference is structural rather than merely artistic. People are beginning to think that Jim wasn't the sole target of 50's warning because of this. What if this is about the industry itself? What if his true point is that image still doesn't matter as much as credibility? Before I tell the city what actually happened, some of you had better relax. When we understand that he may not be speaking of a single individual, but rather a civilization that has lost sight of how important truth is, the sentence takes on a different meaning. According to multiple insiders, the 50s team has been surreptitiously contacting former contacts, compiling documentation, and going over Dipset's initial transactions. Jim might be risking financial, emotional, and professional exposure in addition to embarrassment if even a small portion of those rumors are accurate. It appears to be confirmed by the fears surrounding Jim's camp. His abrupt silence betrays a man who thrives on attention. This playbook has been seen by all of us before. People rush when 50 begins publishing and removing. Reporters were informed by a former label associate that Jim's management has been keeping an eye on social media as part of crisis management. That says a lot on its own. Although silence can indicate strength, in the context of 50, it typically indicates that someone has been told to remain still until they are aware of what is about to happen. Nevertheless, the 50s are still remaining silent. There were no follow-ups, interviews, or captions, just the echoes of that menace. A further layer of conjecture is added by each outlet that covers it. Perhaps one of his production businesses is working on a documentary. Perhaps he's combining true tales of the Gun and Dipset years into an exposé that links betrayal in the past to loyalty in the present. The concept seems crazy until we consider the 50s' past performance. He is a businessman who makes money off of resentment. He doesn't view humiliation as retaliation. It's advertising.
People think you got all this money. Yeah, I do got money, but if I don't hustle every day to pay these bills the same way you got to work every day to pay your bills, it'll be detrimental for me the same way it'd be detrimental for you. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm constantly on the hustle to make more money. That's what life is about. You know what I mean? Money fixes a lot of things. You know what I mean? They say money don't buy happiness, but it made me smile a lot of times.
Jim's reputation, meanwhile, is being scrutinized more than ever before. It was more difficult to conceal the fractures in Dipset's visage after the Lox crushed him during the Versus conflict. In contrast to Jadakiss' effortless domination, his excitement on stage that evening felt forced. Critics referred to it as the official passing of the torch. Through interviews and online teasing, Jim has been trying to stay relevant ever since, but now every word is being scrutinized. Under the shadow of 50, even minor mistakes appear magnified. According to insiders, his inner circle is split behind closed doors. Others are pleading with him to remain silent, while others are pushing him to reply. However, it's not tranquil when 50 Cent calls you out and you remain silent. Rather, it's pressure that builds until something cracks. According to industry observers, Jim's brand dealings with partners who are afraid of getting caught in the crossfire are tense. There have apparently been some longtime collaborators who have moved away. The worry is that 50 may release receipts rather than a diss tune.
Fight all my battles on my own. I take losses and I take my wins the same way. You heard? The same smirk, just like this.
Rumors of ancient recordings, private studio sessions, archive interviews, and early 2000s phone conversations could come to light at any point. There have even been rumors of a re-examination of court documents about Dipset's early contracts. Even if none of it has been verified, the fact that people are still making assumptions about it demonstrates how powerful the 1950s are. The world begins to dig when he gives a hint, and the consequences might go much beyond Jim if those files or videos are real. Fundamentally, bragging rights are no longer at issue here. It has to do with control and legacy. 50 has established himself as the guardian of hip-hop history in New York, choosing who is honored and who is made public. Jim might have entered a game where the rules are against him by entering that arena. There was never a single comment that prompted the warning. Reminding everyone who actually writes the story was the goal. Therefore, the question at hand is not whether 50 will reply. It's the how and the when. Because every minute that he is silent is burdensome. It feels like a countdown with each deleted post. And the more we examine it, the more we believe that 50C declared war on Jim Jones rather than only warning him. Additionally, the truth is always the first casualty in this game. When 50 ultimately chooses to remind the city, what do we believe will happen? Leave your comments below. Watch this space for updates. Keep your eyes alert and your receipts handy till the next time.